Hello and welcome to the Service-Based Business Society podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany-Ann. I left the corporate world to build my own businesses, and along the way, I've learned that scaling isn't all highlight reels. It's messy, it's hard, and it's totally worth it. As a mom of three, the author of The Data-Driven Method, and a serial entrepreneur, I know firsthand what it takes to build something bigger than yourself. This show is where we get real about entrepreneurship. The good, the bad, the beautiful, and yes, even the ugly. Each week, I'll pull back the curtain to share stories, lessons, and strategies that help ambitious entrepreneurs scale their success. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. This week, we are diving into all things business relationship. I truly believe that there are certain key people in your business journey that are so important to your overall success. And a lot of times we perhaps have someone that fills kind of a role, but we really like that person. So we don't necessarily even realize what might be out there. Oftentimes we have someone who has perhaps filled a gap in terms of that ear, who's provided some great advice. But you've heard me say it time and time again, it's really important to really focus on the type of advice you need for where you are in your business journey now. It's not the same thing when we look at what might be needed, a year ago or even 5 years in the future. It's so common that we get on social media and we see, hey, this person says, hey, XYZ works. It does amazing thing. And that might be the case. That person might be 100% truthful. The problem is perhaps their business is in a different phase than you. When we look at our businesses almost like children, they go through very similar phases. And it's interesting because very much like how I talk about I really felt like my kids would get more independent as they got older. And while they did in certain ways, they're actually less independent in other ways. So sure, my husband and I can go out for dinner now. My daughter is old enough to keep an eye on both of her little brothers. That is an independence that at one point we never had. If we wanted to go out for dinner as an adult kind of date night thing, we needed to hire a babysitter. So yes, independence. However, they also have these crazy schedules, and I feel like I drive all over town, here and there. We're what I refer to as triple stacked with 3 kids in sports often. And, throw in a tournament or this or that. And it's like, holy moly, there's a time of the weekend where my husband and I need to sit down and pull out the calendar and be like, are we covered this week? Where are our conflicts? Because as much as every time we think we've got it all sorted out, we don't. There's a tournament, there's a change of the schedule, oh, by the way, we also need to do this. So there is a certain level of independence that comes from kids packing their own lunches. There's a certain independence that comes from going to the bathroom on your own. At one point, I spent 12 years buying some form of diapers. It's exciting when that's not a thing anymore, when there's no longer a budget line item for that in your personal life. But your business is no different. I talked a little earlier this season about how I look forward to the time when I can go away for 3 days. I'm dreaming of 3 days where my business will just continue operating without me. And so often you hear in the online space, if your business can't run without you, your business isn't really successful yet. I beg to differ. Had I stopped growing, if I take the business that was my business 3 years ago and I said, we're good here, could it run for a week, 10 days without me? Yes, I absolutely believe it could. Where that gets tricky is I don't want to stay in the business that I had 3 years ago. I want my business to continue evolving. We had some of our biggest months ever last year, and we've just continued to grow. So it really comes into that timing piece. Where are you in your business? What are you looking to do? What are your objectives? Guys, you've heard me say, what are your objectives? Every season. I say it on almost every client call, every sales call. When someone says, hey, do you think we should do this or that? What is your objective? It's the same when we look at the similarities between businesses growing up and families growing up. It's no different. Yes, my business has independence in areas that it didn't used to. But as we've grown, it's like when your kids start driving, which we're not there yet, but I can only imagine that presents a whole new stress. And I'm sure any person who has given their keys to one of their kids and said, please be safe, don't do anything silly, see you soon. There's a certain level of stress there. They're independent, but not really. And so it's the same thing in our business where we give middle management. We encourage leaders to grow. It comes back to that a rising tide lifts all ships. The only way that our businesses can continue to grow is if we all go up. Everybody goes up. It makes room for new spots for new people and people come up. And it's just part of the business cycle. But it means that the advice, it means that the lessons, it means that the pieces that you're working on must be really tailored to where you are. And I think sometimes we hold on to things that make us small for too long. It's no different than the parent that's holding on to their kids being little for too long. Where, we've all seen, I'm not the parent, I'm not what I like to refer to as the helicopter parent, but you've seen the parents who, don't allow their kids to do things that are maybe of similar age for whatever reason that is. I'm not here to judge parenting styles, but there's always that one parent who's like, hey, be careful, don't do this, don't do that. Like, oh my gosh, be safe, don't do, and you're like, whoa, like these kids are okay. It's the same thing in our business. So today we're talking a little bit about all of the key people, all of the relationships, all of the kind of essential personnel that you need in your business circle to be successful. These aren't the people in your team, because that's not an exact recipe for success. There's some reasonable guidelines there, but it's definitely not the same as this. When we're looking at those people who are important, this is kind of like in our circle, in our business vendors. Number one, you need someone who's going to tell you the truth. Doesn't really matter what the vendor is, doesn't really matter, but you need someone that is going to not give you the sugar-coated answer, that's going to tell you how it really is. Because every once in a while, we really need it. I asked a business owner recently. They asked me a question and I thought, oh, this is a tricky one. I could go and be honest, or I could sugarcoat it a little. And I said, do you want the honest answer? You might not like it. And they said, yeah, absolutely, Tiffany. Yeah, give it to me straight. I knew that still meant that there might be some potential troubled waters ahead, but I forged on and I said, okay, you want to know why this is it has to be faster. They were in the middle of some business updates and inevitably it was just taking too long. And I get it. They're super busy. It's their busy season. They got a lot going on. And so they're like, struggling to do the in the business versus on the business at the same time. But what was happening instead is it's just delaying success. It's just slowing things down and it is dragging out a process that should have been done already. And so ultimately, it's not feeling good. It's not feeling good over a longer period of time. Some of these things I go back to what my mom used to say, just rip the bandaid off. And I remember being a kid and my mom coming at me ready to rip that bit, like legitimately, like not the figurative bandaid, and thinking, oh my God, like, it's the right thing. Your brain knows it's the right thing, but like every part of you screams, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's the same thing here. It really is. So sometimes we need to just rip the bandaid off and get through whatever that tough season is as fast as possible. Just get through it. Because sometimes it's like everything amazing is on the other side of all of what we're going through right now. You can't stop here. So do you have that person that is honest with you? Next, this is going to sound, you need a great accountant. I know this isn't self-serving. Perhaps we need to talk about me being your accountant, but here's what I know. There's two roles in your business: tax accounting, and management accounting. In Canada, and there used to be two designations. There were two things. We had, you could be a management accountant or you could be a tax accountant. Now we have one thing. This literally happened when I was in second, third year university, and I wanted to be a management accountant. I did not want to be a tax accountant. So even though I was like already fairly far down the path of going that direction, in the end, I changed up my education a little bit and I ended up with a business degree, a bachelor's of business with a major in accounting. I had a minor in business communications, and then I went on to do my generalized MBA, Master's of Business Administration. Do I think at times I could have perhaps gone the tax direction? Yes, it does come up, but that wasn't where my passion was, and it still isn't. But I think that this role really needs to be focused in that direction. So I know I'm not a tax accountant, but our firm has CPAs. We have tax accountants because it's two different things. People look at things. It's like, what lens do you look through things? So often I talk to a business owner who maybe has been doing their own bookkeeping and working with a tax accountant. And that person has given them some operational advice, but it's only based on the tax accounting direction. It's two different things. Tax accountants don't look at job profitability. They don't look at the way we allocate overhead. They don't look at reverse engineering, how to be more profitable. They look at how do we, and I'm not just going to say that no one does, but a traditional tax accountant looks at things from how do we be compliant? How do we pay what's appropriate? How do we save where we can while still being compliant? More on that in a moment. But they're not looking at things that are management accounting folks. Management accounting really requires a good set of books. So, how we at our firm divide this up is we say, okay, well, we have bookkeeping. The function of your bookkeeper is not to give you advice. The function of your bookkeeper is to report on the numbers within your business. It's their job to ask you questions to make sure that they're categorizing things correctly, that they're putting things in the right spot. They can definitely assist with setting things up to improve tracking, job profitability tracking, all these types of things. That all falls in the wheelhouse of the bookkeeper. Then you get someone who is that advisor, who's reading those numbers, who's looking. So this can be that more management level accounting role. Perhaps it's a fractional CFO role. So this is the type of things that I do on a strategy call with a client, is we're going through the numbers. We're reviewing. We're looking at job profitability. We're looking at how can we improve overall profitability. Then we have the tax accountant portion. So often we are missing the key element to long-term wealth building, which is a tax strategy. I have clients who have never had a tax strategy. Oftentimes that comes from being behind on the books. There's very little strategy that is possible when you are showing up late. Everything's done. What's done is done. And you're showing up and you're just trying to get it filed at the 10th hour. Or you're trying to get it filed and you're already late. There's very little opportunity for strategy, planning, optimizing. We had a client recently who was years behind, is finally behind, and this is the first tax year where they are ahead of things. Like they're up to date. They're working on 2025 books, and so it's like, okay, well, let's talk strategy. He said, "Hey, I've never been able to do this before. This is one of the advantages of the books being caught up, is that now we can sit down and we can look at, now this is an American business, so we can look at, hey, do we want to continue to be an LLC? Is an S Corp election going to be favorable? Do we have time to go through those steps ahead of year end? All of these, it's an entirely different spot when we're looking at things from this perspective. So it doesn't necessarily need to be 3 people. It can be 2 people. It could even be 1 person if it was the right person. Why I advocate most often that your bookkeeper, your tax accountant, and your, CFO level type advisor should not be the same person is you have that little bit of segregation of duties. Sometimes business owners have their one trusted financial person. And the problem is, number one, that person over time knows so much information that if they leave, chances are you will struggle for it in a period of time. The longer the person is in that role, the harder it is to transition away from them because they're just so intimately involved with so many things in your business. The other piece to that is people overpay for their bookkeeping because they have a higher qualified person doing it. When we look at tax accounting, when we look at, an accountant versus a bookkeeper, it's very much, we have nurses and we have doctors and they do 2 different roles. And it's the same thing with your bookkeeping. So people, oh yeah, I get my CPA firm to do it. They come at it from the standpoint of preparing your books for taxes, not for management level review. And chances are you're overpaying. It's a bold statement, I know, but you need to make sure that now they may have a separate bookkeeping department like we do. We have tax, we have bookkeeping, and then you have a bookkeeper doing your books. That's the important part. Just like you wouldn't want your doctor necessarily in handling all of your care in the hospital because that would be very different. The bedside manner would be different. What you would get would be different. It's not the same skill set. It's not the same process. It's really important that you look at the financial people in your business and find out, do you have these roles covered? Even if one person is sharing multiple roles, do you have the 3 roles covered? Also in the financial vein, your banker, often underestimated. When it comes to your banker, people go for what is the cheapest. Don't do it. Don't do it. You get what you pay for. And usually for businesses, it comes down to features, products, being able to take and do the next thing. It'll be the credit card that doesn't integrate with your bookkeeping system. It will be the credit card that has a very low limit that you will struggle up against for years. It will be the fact that you have no person you can call. One of the things that makes it so much better is if you have a dedicated person that you can call. You have someone at the bank, not just like the 1-800 number and you hope for the best, but like you have a person that you can phone and say, hey, Bob, this is what I'm up against. I'm looking at this potential acquisition. We're going to need some working capital in order to do it. What are you thinking? Is it possible? Is it not possible? Or, hey, really looking to get that line of credit extended. We got high accounts receivable. We're wrapping up this project. Can we get it done? It's a relationship. And one of the things that I often see business owners do is give some of these people, they look at this person in their business as their friend, as their confident. They look at this person in their business as just someone that they're going to share the information with. I'm not here to say in no way should you be dishonest. Yes, you need to be honest, but you need to come at it from the standpoint of like selling yourself to a customer. When you are going to sell yourself to a customer, you don't come at it saying like, well, we had that job last week and well, we didn't do a great job. It kind of went wrong, but most of the time we do pretty well. And it's pretty stressful being a business owner. I hope we do okay for you. You would never talk like that to a customer. But so often people go into these like banking meetings and they're like, oh my goodness, it has been a real struggle lately. Okay, yeah, cash flow's been rough. It's been a terrible economy. Whoa, you want this person to believe in you, to lend you money, to walk you down the process. And as much as you will say, hey, it's you either qualify or you don't, that's not true. Like anything in life. You want these people to believe in you. You want these people to believe in your success, that partnering with you, that this is going to bring them value, that this is the right direction. You want them to be like, yeah, he or she, they are doing cool things. Look at that. They are changing that industry. Oh my goodness. Selling your vision, selling where you're going can make a massive impact in the resources that they make available to you. Sometimes it's like, oh, wow, I had no idea you were doing such cool things. Hey, why don't you come to this event we're putting on? So-and-so will be talking. And it sounds like really something you might be interested in. Or, my goodness, I didn't even think that you might be, large enough now that you might qualify for this other program that we're doing. Hey, so we have this other thing you might be interested in. You need these people in your circle, but you also need them to be in your circle in a way that is still professional. As business owner, you can't, there's a little bit of that, like, it's not the friend family barrier or it's a little bit of like a bubble, and you have to really keep your internal the bubble and decide exactly what you're putting to the outside world. So, we've talked a little bit about the being honest and the financial people, the banker. The next step is that lawyer. You might not need a lawyer. You might go years, I hope, without needing a lawyer. But when you do need a lawyer, you need a lawyer now. You need a lawyer because if you have decided that you need a lawyer, chances are you're dealing with some kind of stressful situation and you need an answer. You need to know which way to go. It's going to like all success, everything will stop and you need to deal with whatever that situation is. That means that you're going to need to know who that person is. And not all lawyers do all things. If you are dealing with an employment situation, perhaps you have an employee leaving, it's not a good situation, that's one type of law. If you have a customer not paying you and you're in a construction project and you need to file a lien and do a series of, that's a different thing. The specialist is almost always going to be better than the general practitioner. You might pay more though. And so each situation you must really evaluate and decide early on in the process, do we need this or can we perhaps stay in our, general practitioner area? One of the things that's hard to know is when to deploy that extra. Like if we're calling the specialist the extra. A lot of times we get so far down the path that you're kind of like, hey, I'm already committed to this and maybe I should have gone with that person. Really deciding and evaluating the cost of staying with someone that doesn't fit wherever you are versus the benefit. Risk evaluation there, super key. If person A, B, or C can all get the job done pretty close to the same, then changing doesn't really matter. But if you're in a significant lawsuit, if you're dealing with a significant situation that can have dire consequences, perhaps deciding who is the best person for that job, as even if the situation is ever evolving, don't be afraid to do what protects your business. You can say, hey, this situation is ever evolving. Thank you so much. We're going to, we've decided to go in this direction. They're a business owner, you're a business owner. Everyone just needs to, don't always be so afraid to offend that you don't protect yourself. Insurance is also an area And you're like, oh, these are all the boring ones. But insurance is an area where you never want to need it, but being undercovered will create an issue. Again, it comes down to risk evaluation. If you work from home, it's just you think, do I really even need insurance for this? You need to evaluate in what ways you have risk. If everything went wrong, the very worst wrong, where is the risk for your business? If you were advising anyone, coaching in any way, you're telling people what to do. If it doesn't work, if you say, do XYZ, and then the person does XYZ and they do not get the result that you said they would get, do you have liability there? Do you have risk there? Do you have a employee agreement where you're asking them to sign something that may not be compliant with labor standards in your area? Do you have potential issue there? Are you entering a client's home? Is there some kind of liability there? If for instance, you're a cleaning company, and maybe you own the cleaning company, and you get a call from the client that says, oh my goodness, your cleaner was here today and my jewelry box has been emptied out. Do you know what you would do in that situation? These are things that more upfront research prevents significant stress on the day. We have a problem. That's this problem. This is how we deal with it. This is who we call. This is what the next step is. So very, very important. The other two people that need to be in your circle, very important. One would be some kind of mentor that you look up to. These are people that are doing what you want to be doing. Maybe it's someone that you have a personal relationship with. Maybe it's someone that you have a more distant relationship with. Maybe you're in their coaching group. A lot of different people are going to school at the moment, school groups. And this is a way that you can feel that person's influence, ask questions, do those kinds of things without necessarily knowing this person. Now, if you have a business mentor that you have a relationship that you can go for lunch, you can pick up the phone, hey, oh my goodness, what do I do in this situation? That's amazing. But contrary to popular belief, and not necessarily belief, but what gets at people say, oh, if you need a business mentor, you just ask. That's not really the way it works in the real world. I mean, yes, people like to help other people. Yes, people love to be asked, like, hey, can you give me some advice? Because it's like a little bit of an ego stroke for someone. Oh, you think that my opinion is valuable to you? That's amazing. That's great. Like, all of those things are true. However, people are busy. And so, to build a relationship with someone that you don't know at all, to being like a close mentor, that takes a long time. That can take, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So finding a way to be close to someone that you believe in their methods. Doesn't mean you believe in everything they have to say, but it means that you believe in their general direction. You believe that the way that they are doing business, the way that they are coaching, the way that they are is helpful to you. And then you need to have someone in your personal life that believes in you. You don't have to. You can do it without it. But if we're looking at like what is helpful, what encourages success faster, as a business owner, you don't always have multiple layers of things. A lot of times, if something goes wrong, your entire team is looking at you saying, what do we do? And you're like, I don't know. Or you're like, man, or you know what to do, but it just sucks, for lack of a better word. Like, it's just a crappy day. Just this morning, I got a message that one of our amazing team members that I could not say enough great things about is now on medical leave. She's not able to work indefinitely. Crushing. Now, to the team, I put on a brave face. We'll hire. We'll get it figured out. It'll be totally fine. Because I'm not going to tell them. I mean, now I am kind of telling them, but guys, this is a problem. But I can have someone in my personal life that I can say, hey, oh my goodness, this is not good. We'll figure it out. We always do. It'll be fine. But, like that person that allows you to be that safe place to just say like, but then doesn't like wallow in it, doesn't tell you, oh my goodness, you're never going to figure it. Just is there. Just someone to listen. Someone that's going to say like, you'll figure it out. It'll be all right. Each of these people really fills a key role. And when we get overlap, like I said, with the like finance piece, it's the same thing. If your person that's like super brutally honest with you, the person that isn't going to sugarcoat is also that safe spot where you can vent. I mean, can that be the same person? Absolutely. Does it offer the same? One person, you're like, okay, you're going to give it to me straight. But maybe sometimes you just don't necessarily want it straight. You just like want someone to just listen and be like, I know you'll figure it out. I believe in you. Being a business owner is not for the faint of heart. It really isn't. And this season, I think, really highlights that. Had some great conversations. We have some amazing upcoming guests. And I keep coming back to the fact that business ownership is not the safe choice. It's not the comfortable, easy route, but it is the one that can lead to amazing places. It's important to enjoy the journey to the amazing place because some people don't actually get to the amazing place. So hopefully you enjoyed the journey regardless, but your chance of getting to the amazing place is only possible when you're willing to step out and be uncomfortable. I was having this conversation with my son. I've talked a little bit about my middle son and his love for lacrosse. And so I would say that he is bold in his decision-making to shoot the shot. And I recently kind of had this feeling. I was chatting with another lacrosse mom and I said, because if he makes the shot and he misses, there's like chattering. I hear chattering amongst the other parents sometimes. Why did he do that? Oh, he should have passed. And I think, he could have passed there, or and in some instances, they're right. I mean, he's 10. I'm not here to say he's perfect. But I will say that he also is one of the leading scorers of the team. And if he always just passed, if he, waited for the safest spot, he would have missed some of the really amazing epic shots that he's made because he just wouldn't have taken them. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So could he play it safer? Sure. At times, would his coaches like him to play it safer? Absolutely. At times, does the negative chatter from the parents on the sidelines say, safer? Sure. But do they also think, do they also say the amazing shot when it is in? Oh my gosh. Yes. But you can't, do you see how no matter what, you can't please everyone. Because if you just stop getting the shots, it would be hey, why are we not getting the shots? What's going on? Why are we not taking them anymore? So that there is a perfect lesson. It's something he and I talked about recently. And you're never going to make everyone happy because what makes people happy in those moments is going to differ based on objective and outcome. Same thing in business. Same thing in your life. You're never going to, you're never going to do all of the things that make everyone happy. You're never going to be able to be completely safe and get maximum impact. You're going to have to find the balance between taking risk, managing liability, and driving to success. That's all the time we have for today, but the conversation doesn't stop here. Be sure to subscribe to the Service-Based Business Society podcast on all of your favorite apps. And if you're hanging out over on YouTube, search for Tiffany-Ann Botcher. Your likes, comments, and shares don't just help the show, they help more entrepreneurs find the real stories and strategies that they need to scale. Until next time, keep pushing, keep building, and I'll catch you in the next episode.